Hi everyone, I'm Michael.
And I'm Patrick, and you're watching another episode of Star Wars News and Views podcast. Today, we'll be talking about the Solo movie that we just finished seeing recently. I saw it on Thursday night, actually, opening night, and the theater wasn't even particularly full, but we're just going to give our general impressions about the movie. So, I guess about the movie, I liked it. I definitely had not great expectations going in, but I ended up having a fun time with the movie, and I thought that they did a pretty good job with it. It wouldn't be my favorite Star Wars movie, but it was good. It had some flaws, but
I was actually really surprised how much I liked it. Going in, I had pretty low expectations. It's kind of a movie that no one asked for and no one really wanted. And especially with all the behind the scenes drama, there was very little confidence other than Lawrence Kasdan's a good writer and Ron Howard's a good director. But, in spite of all that, I still was I don't know about this. But I was actually really surprised. I liked it a lot.
It was I don't know. I agree. We didn't really need this movie about Han Solo. It was one of the only things that, even after the movie was done, I was I didn't really need to, see. Yeah. And, I was worried there was going to be a lot of these, and this is how we got the blaster, and they kind of did do that.
There was a bit of that, but you know what? It wasn't as overbearing as I thought it would be in terms of, the Star Wars prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3 are way worse in that regard.
Yeah. Also, one of the ones that I liked was the Kessel Run thing. That whole sequence was awesome, and it was instead of him just it being a throwaway thing, I did the Kessel Run, blah blah. It's it actually was because of his piloting. I feel it wasn't just because the Millennium Falcon was fast. He was actually manually maneuver and everything. Yeah. And that part I thought was really cool, and it actually made a very big plot point of this one thing, and it was I don't know. That was good. I didn't like stuff how he got his name.
Yeah, that was kind of weak. They could have just not had that.
Yeah, I don't even know what the point of needing that to be part of it was. It just kind of felt flat to me, and I kind of almost even snickered at how dumb it felt to me. But
to me, it's it kind of reminds me when immigrants are coming in through New York Harbor, and they're they give you kind of an American name when you came in. That was kind of the way I took it. But anyway, though,
I can see that.
I thought to me, this was more what I thought the spin-off films would be when they announced it, which is that just kind of a sort of fun side story.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of people compare it kind of to an Indiana Jones film, and I would definitely agree with that. Here's the thing that surprised me the most about it. I think for me personally, I'd say every aspect of this movie is competently done. The score I thought was pretty good. The editing was great. It had a great sense of pace. I love the cinematography, and the script was fine, and the directing was competent, and the actors were all pretty good.
Yeah, I actually liked him as Han Solo. I thought he did a decent job.
I didn't have a huge problem with it.
Yeah, at first when I saw that trailer, I kind of did, and I was I don't know, but he just doesn't. The thing is, he shouldn't just try to imitate Harrison Ford the whole time, which he didn't. He kind of just made it his own a little bit, which was good. I felt.
I feel the trailers are actually not a very good reflection of the quality of the movie itself, and sort of
I agree.
The humor. The movie did have parts that made me laugh, and performances I thought were pretty good, and I didn't get that from the trailer at all.
And there wasn't a lot of it, actually, surprisingly. I thought there was going to be a lot more funny moments in the movie, but there wasn't a ton of humor, I felt.
I felt it was appropriate, appropriate level and appropriate balance.
It was also I felt the movie was very adult, actually, which is kind of cool. I know it wasn't really rated R or anything like that, but I feel they weren't scared to talk about sex and these sort of slave workers and stuff like that, and it was kind of just part of the movie. And I don't think that they had time to really go into that kind of stuff in earlier Star Wars because it was made for kids. But this one felt it was more geared towards adults, and it was a little bit more mature for everybody.
There's not as much kiddie elements in it. Even Last Jedi has porgs and something like that.
Yeah. Even there was one of the other complaints that I had actually about the movie was that one character at the beginning, one of the Woody Harrelson's little guy with the four arms that was flying the ship.
Rio, I think his name is Jon Favreau.
Rio. Yeah, it was Jon Favreau. I couldn't place his voice until afterwards. It was cool that they gave him something, but he just felt like a Rocket Raccoon ripoff to me.
Kind of, yeah.
I was I don't know, didn't really like it. He wasn't in it for very long though, so I don't really have too much to complain about that. But
yeah.
But yeah, I really like Woody Harrelson. I thought he did a really good job in this movie, actually. His character was super interesting throughout the whole time as well.
It's more consistent than Rogue One, because I felt that Rogue One was kind of uneven. Like, the ending's really good, but then the first half of it's kind of all over the place. So it's more it's more consistent than Rogue One. It has more like momentum and a better sense of pacing than The Last Jedi. Surprisingly, there's less fan service than any of the previous films, less than even Force Awakens.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said before about the other aspects of the movie, I definitely thought that the only weak thing was some of the script was a little bit flat, I found. Like, some of the, like, delivery or certain lines were just kind of like, I don't know, like, Kira's character's like, "You're the good guy, Han." It's like, you don't have to tell us that. Like, I can figure that out myself throughout the movie. You don't have to, like, be so direct with it. But, like, some of the people were written very well. I just feel like some of the lines were just, like, not great.
I found that the script was actually pretty good. Like, I was more than I thought. I was kind of expecting it, like, based on what people were saying, seemed a little bit predictable, and it was. There wasn't anything too unpredictable about it, but it was still, like, just enjoyable to watch. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting it to be sort of average at best, and I would say it's average at worst.
And I really liked that droid character, Lando's
L3.
droid. She was very funny, I found, and, like, actually added a lot of good humor. She was probably one of the funniest parts of the movie to me, I think. I think, like, her humor was probably, like, the funniest.
I think that's the first time someone's ever said the word ass in Star Wars.
Like I said, this one's, like, a bit more adult, you know, they can kind of get away with that. She implies that, like, Lando has tried to have sex with her before or something.
Yeah, I don't know. They had, like, an interspecies relationship. Well, that's why they said, like, Lando's, like, pansexual or whatever.
Yeah, and she's just like, it works.
Yeah, okay, so let's go into spoilers. So that's our basic non-spoiler summation of the movie. It's good, it's not great, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a solid expanded universe novel that doesn't have big repercussions for the rest of the series, but
and it can't anyways, because you know, like, what happens with Han Solo in general, and there's not really anything else that could happen as well. Another thing that they have to, like, be careful of is that he can't, like, interact with any, like, Jedi or Sith at all, because he doesn't believe in the Force when he starts in Episode 4, right?
Yeah. All right. So spoilers.
Spoilers.
Speaking of not interacting with Jedi and Sith,
yeah.
So the big cameo that everyone's talking about is Darth Maul. To me, that's sequel setup. Because at the end of the film, he says, okay, I'm going to go to Tatooine and work for Jabba the Hutt. And the reason Boba Fett was hunting originally for Han Solo was because of Jabba the Hutt. So Boba Fett works for Jabba the Hutt. Han's going to go work for him. So that's how you're going to bring Boba Fett and Jabba into the sequel. And Darth Maul's going to be like maybe a competitor to Jabba that Han's going to have to face off with. So how's that going to work?
Yeah, he can't, I don't think. Well, so the thing is, like, Darth Maul being back, we've kind of known in the other, you know, like, Clone Wars and stuff, like, it's kind of been canonized already by Disney.
Because you saw it with a bigger group, and
I did.
Did Terrace or Will know about Darth Maul living?
No, so that was the one thing that I feel like it did a bad job of, was that it was like, that was very confusing to a lot of people who didn't know about that, and they're like, oh wait, I thought he died, he's still alive.
Yeah, he got cut in half and fell down a hole.
Yeah, and also, like, you just don't hear about him ever again until, like, now. If you just watched the movies, you would have never heard about him again until now, and you're like, okay, he's still alive, I guess? Why didn't anyone tell me that before?
Because that's what I was thinking, because I'm like, okay, well, I know Clone Wars and Rebels, but I'm like a hardcore nerd that follows this stuff. Most people barely even know those shows exist, even if they're fans.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, in spoilers as well, I guess, Rebels on this one, is that Obi-Wan kills him in Rebels.
Yeah.
So, like, Darth Maul dies again anyways. I don't know what they're going to do with him in the movie universes, unless they decide to overwrite that or, like, go back and do it again in the Obi-Wan movies, is what I'm thinking.
No, no, because Rebels, where he dies, that's canon now.
Yeah, I just mean, like, maybe they'll do, like, a reimagining of it with, like, with a movie. I immediately, when I saw that, I was like, oh, is he going to be, like, the antagonist?
Oh, do, like, a live-action adaptation of it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
That would be really satisfying, more than, like, just, you have to watch a cartoon.
Yeah, and I don't think any of, like, my friends that were, like, are going to go and watch it to find out what happens with Darth Maul, and it's just kind of be this, like, weird, like, if they don't revisit him, it's just going to be this weird, like, splotch on this thing where you're just like, okay, Darth Maul's back, and then you're just never going to hear from him again, or, like, what?
Yeah,
I don't really understand what their plan is with that. Also, like, so one thing that I had some complaints about was the end with Kira. I thought was a little weird, where she like stops and pretends to betray Han again, and it was like you didn't really need to throw in this extra like betrayal.
Yeah, I don't really. I'm trying to remember now exactly what happens at the end there. It's like Kira betrays Han, Han betrays Drayden Voss, and Beckett betrays Han. It's like, wait, everyone just betrays each other. And then
which
matters.
Is kind of cool because they're all smugglers and they're supposed to be kind of bad people in general, but like...
And then it just ends in a knife fight in the living room.
Yeah, and also like the one thing that was weird was that at the very last thing before Kira kills Dryden, that was his name?
Yeah, Drayden Voss.
Yeah, before she kills him, like Han gets up and he's like about 5 feet away from him with a gun, and she's like pretends to betray Han again and push him down to the ground or whatever. It was like, I mean, he was gonna win that fight there. He can't, Dryden can't immediately like throw the knife and like kill Han before he can shoot him.
Yeah.
I felt like Han had that, and she like, I wasn't sure if the reason was because she wanted to kill Dryden herself, because I think that might have been a thing. Like that was the purpose of that last like betrayal was because for some reason it was important that she killed him or whatever. I don't know.
I did really like the way that Han takes care of Beckett's character, where he shoots first, where he's in the middle of talking. Oh, maybe the meeting of Han and Chewie. I thought that was really well done, where they have like Chewie's like this pit monster. Somebody told me that they Jonathan and Lawrence Kasdan took influence from the Army of Darkness Pit Witch sequence.
Oh yeah, it is similar to that. Yeah, I was thinking about like it felt familiar.
It felt familiar, but I'm like, where have I seen this before? Is it just me, or did they subtitle Chewie at one point, or was I imagining things?
I don't think they did. I think Han just understood him.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to remember now, because I remember they're having full-on like dialogue scenes, reminding me of like the holiday special or something.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
I'm like, I can see how this scene could have gone really wrong if you had like Lord Miller directing it, and it could like the potential for that just to become like parody.
Yeah, I also really like the part where like we find out that the other droids like are still sentient, but they just have these things that are controlling them on them.
Yeah, the restraining bolts.
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of like a nice like little like explanation to this plot hole in the Star Wars universe where some droids for some reason are like sentient and some are just not, and just like subservient workers for some reason. That's
always been a thing in the Star Wars universe. I was glad that they're finally exploring it now, like basically like droid identity or like the status of artificial life in the Star Wars universe, because like, you know, in A New Hope, the bartender goes, "Hey, we don't serve their kind here." And it's like, okay, so there's clearly like prejudice, like they're less than human. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi has a line in Attack of the Clones where he goes, "Oh, if droids could think, there'd be none of us here." So it's like, so they're slaves essentially, but they are sentient. Like clearly, C-3PO and R2-D2 are people. Like there's no doubt about that, right? That's not in question.
Yeah, they have like consciousness and can have a full conversation and like self-aware of themselves.
They have personhood, so it's essentially they're slaves. So this has never really been addressed. That's why people are saying like, oh, the whole Lando pansexual thing. It's like they're just pushing this like liberal agenda. I'm like, it's a very interesting part of the universe that legitimately deserves to be explored more. And it's also a sci-fi trope of like droid identity and like the status of personhood in AI. It's like every Star Trek series grapples with that throughout the series.
And I thought that it was like handled well in the movie, especially like the L3 was pretty funny about it. She's like this like, she has her own agenda essentially and storyline. I'm just trying to free droids in general, and like, you know, it's like this like savior, and like she's like, be free, blah blah blah. And she like sets them loose and they start going haywire.
Marxist Leninist, like, because at the end there, she's not even freeing just droids. It's like there's all these other creatures that are slaves, and like
I don't know. I think overall they did like a decent job, and I'm pretty excited to see more. Like if this is the quality that's going to come out for these Star Wars movies, is like side ones that aren't part of the main story. Like I'm actually excited to keep seeing more of them.
You know what? I think this movie will be judged more fairly in like 5-10 years from now, when there's not the expectation of what's it going to do at the box office. It's not coming off of The Last Jedi, where some fans are upset about that. There's not going to be all this behind-the-scenes drama. Is not going to be fresh in your mind. It's just going to be, here's a B story in the Star Wars galaxy, and it's fun and it's fine, and that's it. Take it or leave it. There's nothing really that elicits strong negative feelings, to me at least, in this. Yeah, well, we'll get into this on another subject, but the box office figures just came out, and it's only done something like 83 for the 3 of the 4 day of the weekend. So I'm wondering now, we're talking about all this sequel buildup. I wonder now, are they going to make? And we know that Alden Ehrenreich has a 3-film contract. He's signed on for 3 films for sure.
Right.
That's open knowledge now. So I'm wondering what they're going to do, in the next year or two. Like they have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And if this is the only film in the sort of Han Solo trilogy, I feel like this film makes almost less sense as a single standalone movie. I feel like if this was sort of a small continuing series, to me at least, this would be almost like, Han gets his own sort of miniseries. Anyway, though, if I had to give it a rating, I'd say it's a solid 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I'd say that as well, like a B plus maybe.
Yeah,
like
B.
That's like where the range where it is for me.
It's like, it's fine. It's not a train wreck. This could have easily been a train wreck. Easily.
I expected a train wreck, to be honest.
And it
so
wasn't.
Maybe just I had low expectations going in, but I liked it, so,
Yeah. But anyway, so that's our thoughts on Solo, a Star Wars story. Be sure to leave your guys' comments on what you thought of it, if you hated it or loved it. Or if you're like us and just kind of didn't mind it but weren't blown away. All right, so thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next episode.